How y'all doing? It is officially 2024, and we're back. Welcome to Lord Pog Gaming, and I'm your humble host, Lord Pog. I took a little bit of a break. I wanted to spend the holidays with my family, so I took November and December off, but I'm back with what is probably the most ambitious lore video I've ever done, so I hope you all like it. With that in mind, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to cheat a little to do a lore-based video on a character from a successful game franchise, but what he's best known for isn't said franchise. I'm talking about Batman's arch-nemesis, the Joker, who subsequently has been in many game adaptations before, but none have been as successful as that of the Arkham series. And since that is technically a video game, and this is a gaming channel, I'm going to do a lore video on him. So like I said, I'm grasping at straws with this one. Before we get into all that though, first let me do my sales pitch. If you like this video and my other videos I've done so far, then go ahead and hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. It lets me know I'm heading in the right direction and I'm creating content that you all enjoy. I'm really trying to grow and improve this channel, so please. That's all I can say is please. I'm not gonna beg, I'm just gonna say please politely, because I'm a gentleman. Also, if I got you feeling a type of way, go ahead and subscribe. And share too, please. It gets my content out there into the algorithm if you share it, so I would much appreciate it. Also, sign my guest book, as that's what I'm calling my comments these days. If it tickles your fancy, just do it to say hi. That's all I need, really. Now, I'm not gonna harp on this, because you know I never do.
Well, I don't like to harp on a subject.
I don't care. It comes with me, never have. That's why they call me gregarious.
So, if this video on the Joker interests you, then sit a spell. For flair, I'll have my gameplay of Batman Revenge of the Joker for Genesis playing on the screen. I won't be playing the whole time, but it just gives you something to look at if you happen to look at the screen at the time. I'm not going to do a retro review on this game because it's not very good. But with that all unsaid, let's get started. Now, I know that there is a plethora of Joker videos on YouTube. He's also been a fan favorite of the comic readers, seeing a surge during the 90s in popularity from the animated series, where he was voiced by none other than Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. I will also say that even before the animated series, he was already in the public eye from the actor Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker in Tim Burton's Batman movie. Yet I honestly feel that what has truly boosted him to worldwide fame was Christopher Nolan's take on the Joker in 2008. In that, The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger transformed the clown prince of crime into the most sinister rendition we've seen yet. Ledger's performance set every edgelord's eye on the Joker. So much so that people not only feared the character, but some actually wanted to be him, if you can believe that.
Yeah.
Sadly, Ledger would pass away before ever truly seeing the fruits of his labor realized in their entirety. But I'm not going to get into the details of that, since there are plenty of other channels who have covered that story way more in depth already. What I will say though, is Ledger won an Academy Award for his performance. Back when those actually meant something, of course. The Academy Awards, I mean. It should also not be forgotten that Cesar Romero, a Hispanic actor in the 60s, played the Joker on Adam West's Batman TV show, which was pretty forward thinking for its time, of course. The show was popular enough but it did not showcase each of Batman's rogues gallery in their unique quirks and personalities. Instead, they opted to just make them all goofy. And so Romero's Joker, unfortunately, was just another zany villain amongst other zany villains. Now, I know I'm spending a lot of time on the Joker's TV appearances already, and we still aren't even done yet, if I'm being honest. We will get to his comic and game adaptation soon enough though, which will culminate into his actual inception onto the page. So if you've made it this far, just know that what I ultimately intend to do here is hopefully set my video apart from other lore videos about the Joker. I want to present y'all a fan theory about who the Joker actually is. But before I can do that, what is that? I first need to establish what we've seen of him in all forms of his media. So stick around to the end and be patient for my theory.
Hold your horses.
We've pretty much covered all there is when it comes to the Joker's film and TV appearances, save for his portrayal on the Gotham TV show where he was played by Cameron Monaghan? Oh man, I'm butchering that. Monaghan. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce that. Monaghan. Of Shameless fame. But that version of the Joker is a gray area because for most of the show's run, they never outright call him the Joker. I believe there was an issue of a sort with the intellectual property, or IP if you will. But I do believe that on the final season, they went full tilt and made sure the audience knew that yes, he is in fact the Joker. So besides Mark Hamill, there have been many voice actors who have voiced the Joker from the animated movies, or in the animated movies I should say, because, you know, words are hard. With the two notable ones that I have found, me personally, being Zach Galifianakis, who voiced the Joker in the Lego Batman movie, and if you don't know who he is, he's the chubby bearded guy in the Hangover trilogy.
Waiting for this moment for all my life. One more time, guys. Oh Lord. Oh jeez.
But what's probably my favorite thing he's ever done was his stand-up at the Purple Onion. Well, that and when he told the singer Kesha, who was super popular at the time, that little girls look up to her and she should be a better person. He told her this allegedly at a nightclub when she tried to hit on him. The second notable voice actor of the Joker besides Mark Hamill is Michael McKean, who you also might know from the TV show Better Call Saul, where he masterfully plays Chuck McGill, the brother of the main protagonist, Jimmy McGill, who also goes by the name Saul Goodman. McKean's character is that of an extremely layered person, and if you haven't ever watched it, then I suggest you give it a look-see. This isn't my favorite role of McKean's though, as he's also a very funny man, playing Mr. Green in the Clue movie and David St. Hubbins in the movie Spinal Tap, which is by far my favorite thing he's done. Both Clue, which is a movie based on the classic board game, and Spinal Tap are worth watching, and were way ahead of their time. Way ahead of their time, man. Not to mention that when thinking about all three roles, and the fact that McKean voiced the Joker in the new Batman Adventures TV show, it really does prove that the guy has range.
It really puts perspective on things, though, doesn't it?
Not too much. There's
Well,
too much
yeah, but
fucking perspective now.
Before we get to the most recent Joker to hit theaters though, and I keep saying though, let's play a game. Let's see how many times I can say though, because apparently I don't know how to freaking use the English dick. Before we get to the most recent Joker to hit theaters, and who I personally think is the best, we should address the elephant in the room.
Woo! We're playing catch now. Oh shit.
Jared Leto's Joker in Suicide Squad, and his cameo in Zack Snyder's The Justice League. What can be said about Leto's iteration that hasn't been picked to death already? I'll keep my opinion brief. It was terrible. Supposedly, Leto tried to get into the mind space of the Joker by pranking his fellow castmates on set, and even sent Margot Robbie a dead rat in the mail, apparently.
Goody. Something tells me a whole lot of people are about to die.
All that's fine with me, honestly. Many an actor has tried to become their character. But what I can't abide by is how much of a, you know that chicken noise, that cluck cluck, you know what I'm saying? They made him one of those. And that dynamic, that has never been the Joker. That has never been his dynamic when it comes to Harley. He's fond enough of her, yeah, but if she fell off the planet, he wouldn't lose sleep. So keep that in mind when we get into his persona from the comic books. We'll get into that later in the comic book section, of course, when we delve deeper. Otherwise, screw, and I mean this with all disrespect, screw a love-struck Joker.
You don't want no beef?
Now on to who I feel is probably the most important Joker we've gotten yet, and that is Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker. I know he's the most recent Joker, so in turn that makes me sound like a real noob or even a filthy casual, but I've been in fact a Batman fan since the 80s, which dates me. It dates me bad, I know. So why then do I say that Phoenix's Joker is the most important? We'll get there, I promise. Just stick with me till the end. What I will tell you for now is that this Joker managed to do something truly profound with the character. While Hamill's Joker was entertaining for kids of the 90s and did in fact help introduce the world to Harley Quinn, and Nicholson's Joker was probably the best live-action example of the mobster-style Joker, which is where I believe he gets the moniker Clown Prince of Crime. Gotham's Joker turned him into more of an idea in the same vein of V for Vendetta.
Beneath this mask, there is more than flesh. Beneath this mask, there is an idea, Mr. Creedy. And ideas are bulletproof.
And Leto's Joker showed us what not to do. Arguably, the Joker that most would say is the best would be Cesar Romero's Joker from the Adam West Batman show, of course.
Oh, how delicious it is!
I'm kidding, although I will say that his version certainly represented the Joker best for its time, but more on that later as well. No, most would argue that Heath Ledger played the Joker the best, to which I would say yes and no. While Ledger certainly gave us a above and beyond performance, and showed the world what a sinister and dare I say nihilistic Joker looks like, Phoenix's Joker did several things none of the others have, one of them being turning the Joker into a sympathetic character, and making the audience root for him in the end. So the argument now is, didn't people root for Ledger's Joker also? Yes, but for the wrong reasons. The argument would in fact take too long to explain right here, and that's not what this video is about. And this is already going to be a long video anyways. So I'll make it short and sweet. Phoenix's Joker is making a statement. And yes, Ledger's Joker is also making a statement. But Ledger's Joker's statement isn't noble or a thing to be admired. Basically, by the end of Joker, the audience, for good or ill, can sympathize and almost all can agree to an extent with Phoenix's Joker. But by the end of Dark Knight, if you agree with the Joker, you need to stop being an edgelord and step outside and make friends. Now this won't be an incredibly long section, as there's way too much merchandise to mention here. The Joker has shown up on coloring books, lunchboxes, keychains, decals for automobiles, and so much more. He's been an action figure countless times, and the like. But what's interesting about the Joker merchandise is that back in the 80s, Jack Nicholson allegedly made 90 million off of all that merchandise. Now, this also has been covered on other channels, but the story is pretty interesting. So I'll just give you the short and skinny. Nicholson took a pay cut to play the Joker in the 1980s Batman movie. In doing this, he cut a deal that if the movie was a success, which it made way over its budget, and I feel is a better movie than anything phases 4 or 5 of Marvel offers. Heck, it's better than most modern DCU offerings these days.
I don't know, just don't be a dick.
It's too late. Look at me. I'm such a dick.
Nicholson struck this deal that if the movie was a success, he'd get a cut of the profits, and any Joker merchandise in his likeness he would make money off of also, which, if I'm not mistaken, still probably holds up to this day. So any folks out there feeling nostalgic and buy a Nicholson-styled Joker Funko Pop, I think old Jack gets a cut of that as well.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker. And as you can see, I'm a lot happier.
One form of media the Joker has appeared in many times since its inception, not counting the comics since that's gonna get its own section, but one form of media is video games. As far as I can tell, there are like 33 Batman related games that the Joker has appeared in. And if I'm not wrong, and feel free to correct me in the comments section if I am, go ahead, sign my guest book. His earliest appearance dates all the way back to 1988 on the Commodore 64, MS-DOS, and Amiga. It was a game called Batman the Caped Crusader. Batman the Caped Crusader, which had a neat concept where the action takes place in side-scrolling comic panels. If you've ever played Comic Zone for the Sega Genesis, then you'll know what I mean. And if you haven't, you ought to check her out. Warning though, it is hard. Even by like retro game standards, that's a pretty hard game. In more modern times, the Joker has become a playable fighter in the Mortal Kombat series, and Injustice, respectively. He's somewhat of a fan favorite in those games, but what I feel, and I think most would agree, is his most prominent role in gaming history is the Arkham series. The first in the series, Arkham Asylum, would be released in 2009 and developed by Rocksteady Studios and published by Eidos Interactive, or Eidos, along with Warner Brothers Entertainment. While the Mortal Kombat vs. DC fighting game would release 1 year prior, it wasn't the commercial success Warner had hoped it would be. So in the year of 2009, Arkham Asylum would be unleashed onto all major consoles and skyrocket the Joker and Batman related games into popularity. See, until then, Batman games were cool, but not awesome. Arkham Asylum changed all that, and has even been termed one of the longest nights in Batman's life by the developers. The Joker, once again voiced by Mark Hamill, surprise, is front and center here, showing the gaming world why he truly is the Dark Knight's arch nemesis. With a perfect blend of the Joker from the 90s cartoon, Nicholas's clown prince of crime, and Ledger's sinister nihilism, Hamill's Joker, along with Phoenix's Joker, I believe is the most important Joker in the gaming world and movie world, just in Joker's world altogether. And I don't think I'll get much pushback for that statement. Well, not with Joker being the most important, this being the most important Joker in gaming anyways. So why is the Arkham Joker and Phoenix's Joker the most important Jokers to me? Well, again, put a pin in it, because we'll get at that in the end. Also, it's absolutely worth mentioning that Kevin Conroy, the voice actor for the 90s cartoon, returned to voice Batman in the Arkham series. Him and Hamill made a career for themselves as the quintessential Joker and Batman. And when I think of Batman, and I hear his voice in my head, because yes, sometimes I hear Batman's voice in my head.
Weird.
It's Kevin Conroy whose voice I hear. He was the voice of my childhood, as I had multiple VHS tapes with almost every Batman episode on it. Sadly though, Kevin Conroy passed away in 2022. And I'll be honest, that one hurt. For some, the passing of Elvis, or for others it was Tupac, while others have recently mourned the Queen. Not me though. For me, it was Kevin Conroy, one of the voices of my conscience.
That's part of the journey too. It doesn't make it easy. It doesn't make the pain any less. But it's a pain that we all share. We all experience loss. It's part of the human condition. It wouldn't hurt so much when we lose someone if we didn't love them so much. So the fact that you're hurting is proof of the depth of your love, the fact that you experienced that person, that they were so much a part of your life. And their passing doesn't stop that. They're not here anymore, but they're here. They're with you. They will always be with you.
Vaya con Dios, Batman. The Joker has been around for several decades now, and has gone through many different iterations. This is the one section that could take hours to delve into, if I were going to delve into every version of the Joker there has ever been presented in every single comic book that the Joker has ever been in. Say that 5 times fast. It certainly does feel like whichever version the Joker is portrayed as in the comics at the time directly influences all other Jokers in media. As Nicholson's Joker, for example, was heavily inspired by the Silver Age Joker, who has become known as the Clown. The Bronze Age Joker, also known as the Comedian, inspired Ledger's Joker. While we've never exactly gotten a full-fledged Golden Age Joker on the big screen, or on the small screen for that matter, the Criminal, as he is known, was a more pragmatic Joker. But I'm getting ahead of myself with this one. Let's look at a few of what I believe are the most important comics the Joker has ever been in, though, with the first being A Death in the Family. In this comic, the Joker, he defeats Robin, we will say, because I don't want to get flagged too hard for this. Well, this Robin, who was the second Robin at the time, named Jason Todd, he took over for not Tim Drake, I'm stupid. He took over for Dick Grayson, who grew up and became Nightwing. So, Jason Todd's Robin, he gets defeated by the Joker with a crowbar. Let's put it at that. He gets defeated many, many times over his head with a crowbar. The Joker defeats him savagely, and then he blows him up with a bomb. This was probably the first example of how ruthless the Joker can be, and if there are earlier examples of something this savage by the Joker, then let me know about it in the comments. But, as far as I can tell, this was the first time the Joker ever truly did something that would scar Batman permanently, and make him maybe possibly regret the life he has chosen, at least regret ever taking on, a partner, a sidekick, especially ones who are basically children or teenagers at least. Now, since we're on the topic of comics and the Joker's appearance in comics and the most important comics the Joker has ever appeared in, I bet you can guess what this next comic is going to be, as it's been praised as one of the darkest Batman comics for its time. That's right, you guessed it. This next comic on the list of the most influential comics involving Batman and Joker's War of Principalities is The Killing Joke, perhaps the most popular Batman comic involving the Joker ever. The story takes a lot of twists and turns, including showing the readers the Joker's past for the first time, along with the Joker using a firearm to cripple Barbara Gordon, and even pushing Batman into almost breaking his one rule and ending the Joker once and for all. There's also one final thing this comic offers that I find very important pertaining to the lore of the Joker, and it's again a puzzle piece that I'm going to wait on revealing for now. Suffice it to say, there are going to be a few more things I'm going to hold back on, but I swear to you, the audience, that there will be a payoff. Both The Killing Joke and A Death in the Family are really important to the mythos of who the Joker is. And before I get to the final comic, or I should say comics, I want to first address something that I mentioned earlier about why Jared Leto's Joker is just a cuck-a-doodle-doo. It's not his look or humor, as I stated before, but the fact that they made him put so much attention on Harley. Now, I kind of get it because she's more showcased in the movie than he is, and they wanted to make her more important, but that's not the way you do it. See, in the comics, Harley gets pregnant by the Joker. She realizes that the Joker wouldn't just make a bad father, but that he would give a child-smelling, feeble old man a run for his money.
A very important thing I told my daughter and granddaughters, no serious guys till you're 30.
Okay.
Right?
No what?
No serious guys till you're 30.
I'll keep that in mind. At least.
If you know what I'm talking about. So she vanishes for 9 months, has the kid, gives it away, and then I believe she just returns to the Joker expecting harsh punishment for having just taken off without notifying Mr. J where she's been for 9 months. Now, before I continue, it's important that I give a disclaimer. My sense of humor can be kind of messed up, and this was more funny to me than disturbing, which says more about me than anything, and this might upset some people. Some might be indifferent to it, who knows? Some of y'all might even think it's funny also. But when Harley returns, Joker acts as if she had never left. She means so little to him on that level, on an emotional, deep level, a spiritual level that happens between partners, that aside from an obvious booty call, when he sees her again, he simply gives her an assignment to carry out, then promptly sends her on her way. Am I saying that this is, in the end, okay? No. Men should treat their women infinitely better than that, and vice versa. Do I think that this is the quintessential Joker?
You bet your sweet bippy I do.
Well, without a doubt I do. Now on to my final entry in this section of the comics that lend themselves the most to the Joker's lore. It's a 3-issue series called The Three Jokers, and you probably already guessed this too. You probably already saw this one coming, but I promise this isn't going where you think it is. See, the setup for this is Batman finally gets to use the Mobius chair, which if you're not aware of what that is, then I suggest you read the Cosmic Odyssey series, as that plays an important part in that series of comics. And seriously, they are fantastic. I own them and they are magnificent. Mwah, chef's kiss. Anyways, Batman asks the Mobius chair who the Joker really is, and the chair in short replies with a question of its own. Which one, it asks, and we soon discover that there's been 3 Jokers all along. One each to represent the different eras of Batman comics. the Golden Age of Comics Joker, who they dubbed the Criminal. As I said before, the Golden Age Joker was more pragmatic and serious, and we've never gotten a wholehearted adaptation of him on the screen, but more of a mixture of his characteristics into other Jokers. There's the Silver Age Joker, who they call the Clown, who I feel was the inspiration for Jack Nicholson's Joker, and most of the Jokers we saw in the 90s and earlier on. You could say Leto's Joker was the Clown also, but they did splash some of the Criminal in there too. The final Joker, and the one most commonly used in today's media, is the Comedian. And without a doubt, that's Heath Ledger from The Dark Knight's Joker. He is the Bronze Age comedian, and he is the most sinister and perhaps unhinged Joker, and is typically the one we see now. Upon further reflection, as a side tangent, I will say this. Those who are familiar with the show Gotham and the way the Joker worked on that, I believe Cameron Monaghan's second Joker, hey, I said his name right, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, his Joker, the second Joker character, did a good job at best portraying the criminal Joker. Even if he would soon enough become the comedian, if you've never seen the show, at least check out what Monaghan how he plays the role of the first Joker, or the second Joker's. He's the first Joker's twin brother. It's kind of hard to explain, and I don't want to go too deeply into it, but he plays two Jokers in that, and they're twins, and it's the first Joker's twin brother who becomes the Joker when the first one dies. He's calm, collected, but very dangerous, and just as insane as you'd expect. It really is. Oh, I just hiccuped. What? It really is a testament to Cameron Monaghan's acting.
Now that's Max. Me, if I want to kill you, I'll just do it. I'll shoot you in the head. Simply and sanely.
Now, back on track. The Three Jokers is a 3-issue series where we learn that there are 3 Jokers, and yes, I know I've already said this. What's interesting about this series isn't the story so much, as it was held in pretty good regard, even if the story was plagued a little by a mid-concept. It's the idea that the Three Jokers story is tied into a death in the family and the Killing Joke, meaning that all 3 stories are canonical with each other. It was said at first that the Three Jokers was canon altogether to everything that has taken place, but was later refuted by Jason Fabok, who claims he's not a hound when it comes to continuity, but he says that the Three Jokers canon would have it being tied into the others, or it being canon altogether, would have tied their hands, and it's better left up to interpretation. Yet that doesn't take away from its connections to a death in the family and the Killing Joke, which is something very interesting when regarding the Joker, and who he really is, and his true origin. It's all shrouded in mystery. We have many pieces to the puzzle as to who the Joker may truly be, but we still need to talk about one more aspect of the Joker before I give you, the audience, my take on who the Joker really is. And that is the Joker's actual true-to-life creation, and the mystery that is the Joker's true life inception. For many years, Bob Kane was widely regarded as the creator of Batman, and subsequently his Rogues Gallery, meaning that for the longest time, Bob Kane was the sole reaper of the rewards of such creations as the Joker. But it has come to light that Bob Kane did not create icons such as Batman and Joker alone. Kane would admit later on that another man by the name of Bill Finger was actually more of the creative genius behind Batman and characters like the Joker. Milton Bill Finger was born in 1914 in Denver, Colorado, and has become widely known for his contribution to the Batman universe. He was called a shy man, and it would be that shyness that would prove his undoing. Bob Kane was able to negotiate his rights to the Batman product with the help of his father, who was a lawyer, while Bill Finger was perhaps too meek to do the same for himself. As a result, Kane got all the credit and Finger did not. Finger would die in 1974 in New York City, never getting the recognition he deserved, but his future generations would eventually. In 2015, Finger's granddaughter fought for Finger's acknowledgement. DC would agree and begin to add Bill Finger as a co-creator to all of Batman's related media. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time saying all this, but here we go. I'm going to start bobbing my head like I'm freaking Stone Cold Steve. To me, Bill Finger falls in line with all the great artists of their time. In life, their genius was never truly recognized, but in death, their legacy has become priceless. Bill Finger was one such artist. Now, I know it sounds like I'm crapping on Bob Kane here, but I promise you I'm not. I don't condone what happened between him and Finger, but aside from that, Kane did contribute to Batman, and what would become the bonkers story of how the Joker was created. I'm sure if you're watching this video, then you're more than likely a big Joker fan, and as such, you probably already know this story. So if you've enjoyed this so far, please like, share, and subscribe. Psych, I'm not gonna bug you about all that. But seriously, do it. Much like the three Jokers, there are three men credited for the Joker's creation and concept: Bob Kane, Bill Finger, and Jerry Robinson. More on Jerry Robinson in a bit. Each story varies on who first came up with the idea of the Joker, his background, or lack thereof, and so on. But the one thing they all agree on was that the Joker was heavily inspired by the actor Conrad Veidt, I think is how I'm pronouncing that right, Veidt, who played the character Gwynplaine, I have no idea, in the movie The Man Who Laughs in 1928. Veidt's, I think it's actually Veidt's, character has a permanent and rather exaggerated smile on his face, and although the movie is a love story, it's still an unnerving sight. The fact that Veidt's image was a catalyst for the Joker is about as far as anyone can agree on, though, as all three men would proceed over the years to give their own conflicting accounts. Cheryl David Jerry Robinson was born in 1922 in Trenton, New Jersey, and was hired on by Kane at 17 years old as an inker and letterer, which in those days was tedious work and took a steady, talented hand to do, since it was meant to be precise. And readers always knew the best comics based on how clean the lines were. Today, computers have taken over a lot of that grunt work, and that's not to say that there aren't many talented artists out there using these computer art programs. Yet for every talented upstart, there's a Marvel Comics artist who basically traces over Google Maps to get their backgrounds. We know who they are. Let's not get sidetracked on it. Robinson would eventually be inducted into the Comic Book Hall of Fame in 2004, then pass away in 2011 on Staten Island, New York. Like I stated before, this story is bananas. But Robinson claimed that, allegedly, that he spent hours developing the Joker's look, as he was always more intrigued by villains than by the heroes. He wanted to create something striking and memorable, and when he presented his drawing to Finger, it was Finger who showed Robinson Veidt's image, which would lead to the Joker's playing card. Now, I'm going to continue to use the word allegedly here, because when retelling each man's account, no one can really be sure which story is true. So, for the sake of brevity, I'm just going to say allegedly on some of this stuff. Still, Robinson would go on to say that, at the end of the day, Kane, Finger, and himself were all three responsible for the Joker. Allegedly, Robinson said that he did the concept and art, while Finger made the first script and Kane assisted with the artwork. This account must have left a bad taste in Bob Kane's mouth, since he alleges that Robinson only came up with the Joker playing card, which Robinson claims was the concept for the Joker, after Finger showed Kane a picture of Weitz, the man who laughs. Kane claimed that Finger had imagined the Joker looking this way from the start, and that Robinson only designed the playing card after the fact. So to Robinson, the playing card was supposedly a bigger deal, but to Kane it was a minor idea that they would only use a few times. Kane would eventually give Finger his due in interviews, but he would never say that Robinson had much to do with the Joker at all. He adamantly refused to ever give Robinson credit for the Joker, and the credit he gave Finger wouldn't really add up to much while Finger was alive, because he wouldn't ever really give Finger the credit while Finger was alive. And this position about Robinson, Kane would hold until the day he died, even going as far as to say that Robinson had nothing really to do with the Joker's creation, but that Robinson would claim he always had, probably until the day Robinson passed away. What I find most interesting is Finger's recollection of events, as it took a more diplomatic approach. According to Finger, Kane showed him the Joker playing card as it had inspired Kane for a new Batman villain. What's odd here is that once again, say it with me now, allegedly, Finger couldn't remember if it was first Kane or Robinson who looked at the card, then came up with the idea for the Joker. Still, Finger claims that it was he who had always introduced the concept of Veidt, and that helped Bob turn the Joker's image more sinister, since before Finger showed Kane the image, Kane's original design had the Joker looking too much like a clown, like a party clown. So with Finger's help, the Joker's iconic look was born. So the question that remains now is, who is to be believed? Well, unfortunately, all three men have passed away, so we may never know. But even when they were alive, their stories never matched. So we may never even know even if they were alive today. On top of all that, there definitely was some bad blood between Robinson and Kane. The obvious choice, considering Kane's history, is to trust Robinson's account more. However, these stories really aren't that different if one really takes the time to dissect them. Think about what we know. Robinson claims he created the Joker card. Kane never refuted that Robinson did this. In fact, he admitted that Robinson did show him the card. The difference here is the importance of the card. To Robinson, it was the basis of the whole Joker concept, until Finger showed everyone Weitz, the man who laughs. Which on an interesting side note, Finger also said that the Joker was inspired by the steeplechase face image in Steeplechase Park at Coney Island. Anyways, another claim that Kane never refuted. The steeplechase face, I mean. See, Bob Kane was born Robert Kahn in 1915, New York, and he was of Jewish descent. In 1937, he began work for Eisner and Iger and had already changed his name to Bob Kane. Eisner and Iger were one of the first on-demand comic book packagers for companies during the early stages of the comic book industry, or the golden age of comics. Bob Kane was basically there at ground zero for the medium that has led to blockbuster movies like Marvel's Phases 1 through 3, and that's all. When it comes to Marvel, they haven't any more phases. Everything else is just a fever dream. Not to mention Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, and other great comic book based movies like The Crow, for instance. I really miss when Hollywood used to try, instead of worrying about fictitious ratings that are self-gratifying pats on the back.
Can't rain all the time.
Sorry, getting lost here. Anyway, Bob Kane's effort, in a weird way, made some of our childhoods better, even if he wasn't directly involved. Again, that doesn't excuse him for not giving Finger his due, but for any wrestling fans out there, I'd like to use an analogy. Vince McMahon, who owns the WWE, has never been a good booker. A booker being the guy who comes up with the larger-than-life personas for the wrestlers and creates the storylines. What makes McMahon as good as he is has always been knowing a winning idea when he sees one. He may not be the most creative guy, but he knows how to promote the crap out of somebody's good ideas. That was Bob Kane and Bill Finger. As Kane admitted that yes, he came up with the idea of Batman, but Finger made him iconic. It was Finger that gave Batman his look and backstory, and much to Kane's credit, he saw it and knew it was good. Finger, as said before, was always too shy, so regardless, Batman would have died on the vine if not for Kane's ability to promote. In the end, they were truly a dynamic duo. It's just sad that Kane didn't protect his partner's interests better. And maybe there's a story there neither of them ever told, and as a result, both men's passings we'll never know. Still, I can't help but see the parallels there between Batman and Robin. Kane didn't protect his Robin, and as such, a death in the family. And I don't want that to be misconstrued. I don't mean that it caused Finger's passing. I just mean it caused the ending of his career to an extent. With all this in mind, it stems to reason that based upon all three men's account of how the Joker was created, we, the historical sleuths, can pick up the kernels of truth and weed them out piece by piece. And together, we can possibly find out what really happened, or at least infer. See, Robinson sketched the Joker card, and either showed it to Kane, or Kane just happened to be checking in on what Robinson was working on and saw it. Either way, we can infer that yes, Robinson created the Joker card, and it doesn't matter whether or not Kane came up with it on his own, or Robinson showed it of his own volition. Neither men disagree that it was Robinson's work on the card. According to Kane, the card got him thinking about a new villain, and this is where the stories diverge. Robinson claims the card was the whole concept for the Joker, putting him in a greater position of the Joker's creation, while Kane really claims that it got his creative juices flowing and nothing more. Robinson's involvement was nothing more than that. But he just couldn't quite picture the end result yet, and that was Kane's problem. Enter Finger's account, which he claimed that he saw Kane with the card and helped him bang out what would become the Joker. Now, because Finger was such a shy guy, we can reason that he wasn't one for rocking the boat.
Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
This is why he probably claimed he couldn't remember who got the idea for the Joker by looking at the card. But now that we understand Kane and Finger's relationship better, I think it's safe to say that Finger was covering for Kane. The reason I think this is because Robinson stated that he loved villains more than heroes. So his sketch of the Joker card was probably him trying to envision something. What that something was, I don't think he really knew. For all we know, the fact that the card had a gesture on it was just a happy accident.
About it, we don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
As Robinson might have been wanting to come up with a villain who was more of a gambler and used cards as part of his repertoire. I can't prove that, of course, but it's a reasonable deduction. Bob Kane, being Robinson's boss, checks in on him, sees the card, asks what it's about, to which Robinson says it's for a villain, and Bob takes it and meditates on it for a while. Again, because Bob knows a winning idea when he sees one. But Robinson isn't a promoter of ideas. Bob is. As a result of all this, Kane calls on Finger his idea guy. And voila, the Joker is born. Of course, Kane's flippant dismissal of Robert's part in the whole thing causes tension, and behold, we have our conflicting accounts. So again, I ask, whose story has the most fiction? I believe Robinson's does, but I also believe Robinson invented, and again, this is just a personal theory, and I'm in no way saying that this is what actually happened, but I believe Robinson only concocted his telling of events, which makes Kane appear as if he had the least to do with the Joker's creation, because maybe the Joker card was truly minor in the grander scheme of things. If it hadn't been for Robinson, then Kane would have never even seen nor been inspired by it, and Robinson felt he deserved more credit than that. Meanwhile, I do believe that while Finger did remember who was first inspired by the card and was in fact lying, again, it's all personal speculation on my part, I also believe it was he and Kane who got together like the dynamic duo and banged out the finer details without Robinson's help or input. It just makes sense because that's what they had always done. So again, who's responsible for the Joker? All three of them. Robinson provided the inspiration, Kane the promotion, and Finger the iconic look. Of course, we'll never know if it's right or not what I'm saying, but it's not that far-fetched. And despite all the infighting and conflicting accounts, at the end of the day, we got what has to be one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic, villain to ever grace our comics, games, movies, TV shows, and various forms of merchandise. And it's because of this mystery surrounding the creation of the character, whose own past is just as shrouded, that I've come up with my theory on who the Joker really is. If you've made it this far, I'm humbled by your commitment to listening to me ramble on about a topic that's been done by many other channels before me. I told you I was saving this fan theory of my own creation until the end, and this is probably the longest video I've ever made. So I thank you for coming on this journey with me. And though I don't know you, nor will I ever probably meet you, we could have different beliefs and philosophies for all I know, but you've truly made all this work worth it. And I love you, because despite whatever differences we have or may have, today we're both united by our love for the Joker as a character and the Batman franchise as a whole. And again, I'm truly honored by you.
When we first had this idea of putting on this shindig, we didn't know if anyone would come. But look, you're all here, pitching in. I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
Talked a lot about all things Joker, from TV and movies to memorabilia, video games, along with what is regarded by many to be the best comics he's ever been in. I'll tell you what, you the audience even went down the rabbit hole with me on his real life creators and the mystery of his creation. All this on a gaming channel who used a loophole on the fact that the Joker has been in video games before to do a lore deep dive. But now we've come to it. The real question. Who is the Joker? I don't know. The comics have never truly said. So, that's really my answer. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to sign my guest book, alright? And that's what I call my comments section, my guest book. And y'all come back now. Stay golden.
Mwah! Good night, everybody.
No, I'm kidding. I just had to do that.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
seriously, no more wasting time. Let's put all the pieces I've been promising to explain together and see if we can't decipher an origin out of them for the Joker. When I said that the comics hadn't ever given a backstory to the Joker, I was fibbing a little. See, The Killing Joke does in fact give a backstory to the Joker. In it, the Joker was a struggling comedian who just isn't very good. To make matters worse, he's married with a baby on the way, so he hooks up with some mobsters to rob a chemical plant he once worked at. A series of unfortunate events ensues. Hello. When his wife and child die in a fire, and while robbing the plant, he runs into Batman. He accidentally falls into a vat of chemicals and becomes the Joker as a result. The TV show Gotham gives the Joker a backstory of him being more of an idea or an identity shared between these two mentally unstable twin brothers. Tim Burton's 1980s movie Batman borrows from The Killing Joke with a few changes, like Joker's name. His name in that is Jack, and he's a mobster, but he still tries to rob a chemical plant, which, okay, that's weird anyway. All of the places to rob, why a chemical plant? I know the mob once upon a time treated everything like the Wild West and robbed places no one else would think of, like the Lufthansa heist.
Nobody knows for sure just how much was taken in the daring pre-dawn raid at the Lufthansa cargo terminal at Kennedy Airport. The FBI says $2 million. Port Authority police say $4 million. The city...
But what exactly are you gonna find at a chemical plant? Wild. Just wild. So robbing the chemical plant, Batman swoops in and stops Jack Napier, and Jack accidentally falls into a vat of chemicals and he becomes the Joker. In 2019's Joker, we get a whole movie based on the Joker's life before becoming the Clown Prince of Crime. And this borrows also from The Killing Joke, but also from several other sources also. From several other sources also. That sentence is correct. So I'd like to save this example for last though. The Three Jokers comics give us a reason for Joker's mysterious past, as it claims there are three Jokers and each is responsible for the three different kinds of Jokers Batman has faced throughout the different ages of comics. In the end of those comics, Batman claims he's always known who the Joker was, and that his wife and child didn't die in a fire, but that he hid them to protect their identities from mainly the Joker himself. Okay, now that's where everything gets crazy, because if the Three Jokers ties into A Death in the Family and The Killing Joke, but it has been officially considered not so much canon, but as interpretive canon, then where does that leave us? How can anyone hope to really know who the Joker is? Movies like The Dark Knight and Suicide Squad leave his past a mystery. Most of the comics have done this also. It's almost as if the fact that his real-world creation and the mystery surrounding that has somehow seeped into the character himself, becoming this meta-amalgam. We can never really be sure how he was created, so we shall never be entirely sure what his origins are in the comics, and as a result, all the other media the Joker is in. I believe part of this puzzle can be found in two sources, one being the comic The Killing Joke, and the other the video game Arkham Asylum. In The Killing Joke, the Joker at one point gets the drop on Batman and begins tormenting him, forcing Batman to chase him through a funhouse. While doing this, the Joker says all this: "I've proved my point. I've demonstrated there's no difference between me and everyone else. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day. You had a bad day once, am I right? I know I am. I can tell. You had a bad day and everything changed. Why else would you dress up as a flying rat? You had a bad day, and it drove you as crazy as everybody else. Only you won't admit it. You have to keep pretending that life makes sense, that there's some point to all this struggling. God, you make me want to puke. I mean, What is it with you? What made you what you are? Girlfriend killed by the mob? Maybe? Brother carved up by some mugger? Something like that, I bet. Something like that. Something that happened like that happened to me, you know. I'm not exactly sure what it was. Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. Ha 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 ha. But my point is, I went crazy when I saw what a black, awful joke the world was. I went crazy as a coot. I admit it. Why can't you? I mean, you're not unintelligent. You must see the reality of the situation. Do you know how many times we've come close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen? Do you know what triggered the last World War? An argument over how many telegraph poles Germany owed its war debt creditors. Telegraph poles. It's all a joke. Everything anybody ever valued or struggled for. It's all a monstrous, demented gag. So why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing? Credit goes to Alan Moore, Batman, The Killing Joke. There are some key things that the Joker has said here. But first, let's now look at Luke Skywalker's
Ray Skywalker.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
I mean Mark Hamill's masterful voice performance as the Joker in Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is without a doubt the best Batman game ever. Some would say Arkham City, since it took the formula set by Asylum and put it to a larger scale. And to those who say that City is better than Asylum, I say,
I mean, it's alright, like.
I mean, I can't honestly debate it. It just depends on if you appreciate that without Asylum, there wouldn't even be a city, I guess. For me, it's Asylum all the way, baby. The premise of the game is the Joker stages a hostile takeover of the iconic Arkham Asylum, releasing some, but not all of Batman's foes. It's then up to Batman to survive one of the longest nights of his life, defeat some of his more insane and toughest foes, discover what lunacy the Joker is up to, and take back control of Arkham. For its time, it was a darn near perfect game, and I love how the night progresses and the challenges get tougher. Batman's suit reflects the damage and trials he faces one after the other, with his suit beginning to tear and cut along like it develops cuts, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but I'm just stupid. And his cape becomes frayed along the edges. He also begins to unlock some of the hidden mysteries of the Asylum, which I love also. And some of those mysteries have been put there before his time, while some have been put there by Batman himself. It's a perfect blend of action, stealth, and RPG that kept me busy for days. And yes, I said days because I have to work for a living. Alright, lay off. It's the mystery aspect of this game, though, that I feel lends itself to uncovering the truth about the Joker here. As Batman progresses, he can find tape recordings of the different inmates. These tapes give the player a deeper insight into the psyche of such notable villains such as Riddler, Harley Quinn, Scarecrow, Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Victor Zsasz, but most importantly, the Joker. While all the other tapes pretty much let us see who these villains are and were, it's only the Joker's tapes that never quite let us in, save for one, well, two really. It's these tapes where I feel we really get to understand the Joker and what his motives are. And it lends itself not only to the Killing Joke, but also to Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, which came out 1 year prior to this game.
Take patient interview 20. Joker is more interesting than I originally believed. When Project Titan is operational, I believe Joker will be the perfect test subject. Good afternoon. Today I thought I'd skip back to our previous conversations about your family.
Of course. I was born in a small fishing village. I always wanted to join the circus, but my father wouldn't really let me.
I don't believe you.
My father was a cop. 1 week from retirement when the mob...
I've seen the movie. What are you scared of?
Scared?
Yes, scared. There's obviously something. Something that made you what you are.
What if I'm too scared to remember? It hurts too much.
Then I can help you. I've been a fool. Joker was behind it all. He's Jack White. He gave me the money, pulled the strings to release Bane. How could I not have seen it? He's been blackmailing me. He has a crazy plan to create an army of monsters. I want out, but... Hello? Hello? Dr. Young's office.
Please hold for Mr. White.
What?
Hello, Doc. We need to talk.
I'm not doing it, Joker. Do you hear me? Wait. How did you get access to a phone?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Doc. Had to split. I hate small, confined spaces. Reminds me of my childhood.
Another lie?
Who knows? I certainly don't, but let's not get distracted with details. So, anyway, I want my monsters.
I sent you back the money. I don't want it.
Do I look like I care about money? I just want my monsters, Doc. And if you don't give them to me, well, then it won't be funny.
Did you hear it? Once again, the Joker mentions that an origin, as it were, should be multiple choice, even going as far as to say when asked if what he's saying is another lie. He says, "Who knows? I certainly don't." Meaning that when you factor in what he says in the Killing Joke about having a bad day and a past should be multiple choice, and how Ledger has so many different backstories for himself in The Dark Knight.
You wanna know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker and a fiend. Come here. Hey. Look at me. So I had a wife. She was beautiful. Like you. Who tells me I worry too much.
Then it's safe to say we can know one true thing about the Joker. Like Batman, he had a bad day once. Something that broke him. And while Batman chooses to use his trauma for something good, the Joker chose to become Batman's Antichrist and go in the opposite direction. The Dark Knight even alludes to the fact that the Joker sat in silent suffering in Arkham until he witnessed Batman and saw a sort of kindred spirit in him. In The Killing Joke, it doesn't seem that the Joker knows who Batman really is, just that he knows Batman had a bad day once, like himself. Yet in The Dark Knight, at the dinner scene where Bruce and Harvey are having a discussion about Batman, well, here, just watch.
Took me 3 weeks to get a reservation here. And
Yeah, Bruce. Fancy that.
the famous Bruce Wayne. Rachel's told me everything about you.
I certainly hope not.
Gotham City is proud of an ordinary citizen standing up for what's right.
Gotham needs heroes like you, elected officials, not a man who thinks he is above the law.
Exactly. Who appointed the Batman?
We did. All of us who stood by and let scum take control of our city.
But this is a democracy, Harvey.
When their enemies were at the gates, the Romans would suspend democracy and appoint one man to protect the city. And it wasn't considered an honor, it was considered a public service.
Harvey. What if Harvey Dent is the Caped Crusader?
Did you see it? Who was that man sitting there with that odd-looking woman? Now, no offense to her, but the movie establishes that the Joker spends a lot of time convincing other escaped mental patients from Arkham to help him and then uses them to carry out his nefarious deeds. We know from Batman Begins that a lot of inmates escaped at the end, one of them being the Joker. And as the Dark Knight progresses, we discover that the Joker has been planning for a long time what comes into play in the Dark Knight. That man with that woman, who despite her attire does look like she was purposely meant to look a little off, as every other mental patient in the movie does, is sitting with long hair, dirty blonde. Wow, why would I word it like that? What the heck is wrong? And who else in that movie has that kind of hair? I believe that when the Joker tells Batman that at first he really thought Batman was Harvey, it stems from this one scene, as the Joker is spying on the new District Attorney Harvey Dent. Yes, that man at that table is the Joker. The fact that Bruce is there and the Joker gets an insight on him is a trick of fate. For it's when he realizes that Harvey isn't Batman that he realizes that Batman is actually Bruce Wayne. Now you may be asking, why doesn't he just expose him? Well, if you've watched the movie, then you'd know that the Joker needs Batman, and he believes that in the end, Batman needs him. They are two sides to a coin, and this is a theme that goes beyond the movies, but into the games, and was first established in the comics. Remember, the Joker does tell Batman that, at first I really thought you were Dent. At the start of the Killing Joke, Batman comments on how the Joker just showed up one day, and even goes as far as to trying to make peace with the Joker because he realizes they have some sort of twisted kismet. So why all is this relevant to discovering who the Joker is? Well, because of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I've held back on discussing this movie and the three Jokers for this specific time, as I feel this is what will establish my theory. To do this, we are going to be drawing upon everything else and funneling it into this movie. But bear with me, as I don't think this is going where you might think it's going, as I've said before. In Joker, we get a full-on backstory of who the Joker was before. He's a struggling clown performer for parties named Arthur Fleck. He aspires to become a comedian, but is bad at it, because he suffers from a condition that when he gets nervous, he laughs uncontrollably, and it puts a permagrin on his face. It's even uncomfortable for him. So right there we have a connection between Killing Joke and the three Jokers, since in Killing Joke he wants to be a comedian but sucks at it. And the three Jokers, the Golden Age Joker, the criminal, claims that laughing actually hurts him. As the movie progresses, okay, spoilers ahead. There's no other way around it, and I'm sorry. If you don't want this movie ruined, then you might just skip to my outro. But it's unavoidable for me and this theory. As the movie progresses, we see how tragic Arthur's life is. He's beaten, picked on, treated like a pariah, and has to take care of his sick mother, which that last part really lends a more heroic and noble aspect to Arthur, while the rest of what he deals with on a regular basis makes him more sympathetic. He does find love in Sophie Dumont, played by Zazie Beetz, and even succeeds at a stand-up routine. He also discovers that his father is none other than Thomas Wayne, which, being the illegitimate son of a millionaire, well, I guess Thomas is probably a billionaire, that would be the jackpot for a guy in his situation and in Arthur's situation. Of course, all this ends up being in his head, save for Thomas Wayne being his dad. That's his mother's own imagination. And Arthur ends up finding out that his mother used to abuse him as a child, and that's why he's so messed up. That's why he suffers from some of the conditions he does. To add insult to injury, Arthur idolizes a late-night talk show host named Murray Franklin, played by the young godfather himself, Robert De Niro, and dreams of doing stand-up on his show one day. His dreams are dashed, however, when a tape of Arthur bombing on stage ends up on Murray's show, and then Murray proceeds to mock Arthur relentlessly. Arthur also kills, in self-defense mind you, some butthole rich kids, which makes the news, but they, in true CNN fashion, misreport the story. They ignore how hateful these guys were and paint Arthur out to be the bad guy. Arthur also tries to confront both Thomas Wayne and Sophie Dumont, with Thomas telling Arthur that his mother is crazy and he never had an affair with her, while discovering that his own love affair with Sophie was an illusion made up in his own mind, and that she doesn't even know who he is. All these things cause Arthur to snap and become the Joker. He also becomes obsessed. He also becomes obsessed with Thomas Wayne. And he kills Murray on live TV. While the Joker persona becomes a symbol for the forgotten of society, culminating to a minutes to midnight scene where Arthur has embraced the Joker. In the end, sorry I had to, and if you know, you know, Arthur is sitting in a mental hospital laughing, and when his shrink asks what's so funny, well, he says this. Here, let's play this clip.
What's so funny? It's just like thinking of a joke. Do you want to tell it to me?
This is why I think Phoenix is the most important Joker. Not because he's the best, although I kind of feel like he is, or that Joker is the best movie with the Joker, although it kind of is. It's because the Joker, with all the evidence presented here in this video, suffers from what I believe to be multiple personality disorder. Meaning that at any and all examples of the Joker, and by extension his origin stories, are in fact true. At least to him they are. The Three Jokers isn't meant to be taken as a literal Batman vs. Joker series, or Jokers series, but more as headcanon for the Joker's own mind. This is why Jason Fabok said it's interpretive canon, because we're finally getting to see who the Joker is in his own mind. Think about it. Cesar Romero's Joker is a crazy, loony Joker, like a party clown, like Arthur's party clown. Jack Nicholson's Joker is a gangster named Jack Napier, Napier meaning one who watches a tablecloth. Why does that matter? It doesn't. Joker's fake name in Arkham is Jack White, though. So there's the Jack, and I guess you could also say that Napier really means one who watches at its root definition. And the Joker watches the Batman. Jack Napier also made an appearance in the comics later on in the White Knight series. That comic basically is where the Joker flips everything on Batman and he becomes the hero and Batman the villain, but it's all just a ruse. How does that tie into Arthur or this theory? Follow me further down this rabbit hole. Both Arkham Joker and Killing Joke Jokers admit that they don't care to remember their past, with Arkham Joker even saying he's not even sure he remembers it at this point. Ledger's Joker exemplifies this with all his different retellings of his past in The Dark Knight. Cameron Monaghan's Joker in Gotham is two people, and the Joker is portrayed more as an idea to live by. Arthur Fleck starts off a sad, lonely man with a mental disorder that makes him laugh to a point it hurts. He's the Golden Age Joker, the criminal. As he further falls into madness, he murders those guys on the bus, and his own mother. He's now embraced the Silver Age Joker, the clown, because at this point he's even donning his signature look. By the time he kills Murray Franklin, he's become sinister, spouting his philosophies on live TV, and it is obsessed with the Waynes. He has become the final Joker, the Bronze Age Joker, the comedian. Yet this isn't a totem pole of insanity, where he's just climbing up the pole, becoming one Joker and then, leveling up, as it were. No. I believe that the movie is meant to tie into the comics, games, and other movies and TV shows, as well as the cartoons. See, Arthur, or the Joker now, has finally developed the three Jokers in his mind and is capable of drawing upon each of their own unique IDs, as Freud would put it, his id. But he's got three. Joker becomes a symbol to the people, just like in Gotham. He can be a gangster or nihilistic. There's even a scene where he meets young Bruce Wayne, and that's what sets him on the path of discovering who Batman is. Just like how he knows who he is really in The Dark Knight. And I kind of believe he really knows who Batman is in the comics. When he's mocking Batman, he gets too eerily close to what set Batman off, what Batman's bad day is. It's like he's mocking him. The key to all this is in that final scene. Arthur, if that truly be his name, sits laughing, and what's important to note is there's a microphone in front of him. The shrink is recording their sessions, just like in Arkham. And what do we know the Joker does when asked to explain his past or himself? His motives. He tells you whatever story he wants to believe at the time. And the joke he's telling himself, well, some could argue that it's that shot where Bruce is there with the dead Thomas Wayne. That Joker is laughing because the man who denied him is now dead, and the boy who got everything Arthur should have now suffers like him. That's a good and poetic thought, and honestly, a decent enough explanation, but it's a surface level way of looking at it, if anything. No, I believe Joker is laughing because it's that moment he's figured out who Batman really is. Or it's more or less alluding to the clue that will help Joker figure it out, just like in The Dark Knight, just like in everything else. On a side tangent, Jack Nicholson even figures out in the 80s Batman who Batman really is. It's him who shoots Thomas Wayne and Martha. He says, "You ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight?" And he says that when he's a young man, and then later on, Joker says that to Bruce, and Bruce recognizes it and knows instantly who the Joker really is. He knows he's the man that killed his parents, and he tells him that later on. He says, "You created me," and Batman tells him, "You created me first," which is still going into this headcanon of Arthur thinking about Thomas Wayne dead. It's an obsession with the Waynes, and it's an obsession with Bruce. The Joker has had a fantasy where he's the one who killed Martha and Thomas. And to be extremely meta, in this universe, Ben Affleck exists as a Hollywood actor. Arthur Fleck, or A. Fleck, or Affleck, as in Ben Affleck. Joker's ideal Batman, if Batman were a movie, and Batman had finally lost what makes him Batman. The death of Robin finally pushing him over the edge, making him a darker, more brutal Batman, sans Batman vs. Superman. And Leto's Joker, I think, is what Joker sees when he has a nightmare. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that. Just one big cock-a-doodle-doo nightmare. Yes, every rendition, everything we know, we see from these examples are all in the Joker's mind. They are the various stories he's told us, because at the end of the day, we are his therapist, his doctor, his priest, and, most of all, his captive audience. There is no Joker. It's a fever dream in the mind of a broken man who sees himself as Batman's brother. Whether the story he believes makes him his brother by birth or by pain, it's all in his head. And just like his real-life creation, there are too many conflicting accounts given to us by his own tongue to ever really be sure. But one thing we can know that is for sure, they are all the real Joker, because he believes it. And if he believes it, then every story, every background, every adventure, every game, every comic, every movie, everything, every actor, every one of them, every Joker is canon. If you have continued to stick around this long, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I took November and December off, like I said, to spend the holidays with my family, and I wanted to come back with something major. This, without a doubt, is the longest video I think I've ever done, and you honor me, truly honor me by being here. Thank you so much, and don't forget to leave a like, and if it tickles your fancy and you like what I do here and you like what I've done in the past, go ahead and subscribe too. I love you all, and you all come back now. Stay golden. Oh, one other thing. Let's hope DC doesn't ruin things with the Joker sequel. I mean, Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn? Are you